Hello there! Today I'm going to make a backpack and you can follow along to know how to make your own DIY backpack. First we'll be needing tools and materials. I used some spare tela that I found around the house and also sewing kit that has threads, measuring tape, and more threads. These are some garter I bought, some pieces of foam. We also need the pattern we got from Miko Crafts, which you can find in the link in the description. And straight edges such as rulers or triangle rules. The next thing we'll do is to cut the pieces of tela into specific dimensions that we will need later for our DIY bag. Massive thanks to the Malaysian YouTuber MikoCraft who made the pattern for the design of this DIY bag. Then, after cutting them out, label them using sticky notes and to figure out later what you will use for the next processes. In this project, we'll be using two telas, wherein the green one is the inner and the black one is the outer part of the bag. Now that we've cut the tela into specific dimensions, we can now proceed to sewing the zipper. To sew the zipper, keep your table organized and put the B inner and then on top of it the zipper. And on top of the zipper, put the B outer. Make sure that one of their sides align to each other. After that, start sewing at the closest to the side wherein they are all aligned. Keep sewing it with a running stitch until you reach the far side of the zipper. After that, open up the B inner and B outer and put together their unsewed sides. Sew their unsewed edges, but before that, use a pin to keep them in place while you are sewing them. It's a handy technique that will be used also later so that our tela will not move around as we stitch it up. After that, put the C inner, the zipper, and the D outer and sew them just as with the B inner and B outer. After sewing the zipper, we need to sew the sides. To do this, we just have to extend the shorter sides of the zipper we sewn earlier by sandwiching it with the E outer and E inner. We sew this way so that the stitches won't be seen outside when the bag is finished. Because the bag has two sides, we must sew both sides with pattern E. After sewing both sides with pattern E, stitch all the edges of pattern E to close it down. Now we're done with sewing the sides. Up next is sewing the bottom. To do this, align the short edge of the F pattern both inner and outer, wherein the inner is on top, with what we have already made before. After stitching this part of the bottom part, align the edge of what we have made before with the bottom part or the F pattern. Then stitch them up. Now we have arrived to what is something like a loop, but what we have stitched recently still has some opening of some sort. This is to be filled with cushion or the foam that we have. But before putting the foam, we must stitch one side first. Now we have sewn the zipper, the sides, and the bottom. Now the back part we are referring to is the face of the backpack. This is the one away from the user. In this part, I am using 2 layers of green tela since we ran out of black tela. As you can see, its sides are being sewn into the sides of what we have made earlier. Now the bottom. Next to the other side. And lastly, the top part. This is somewhat challenging, but you can also use the pins to keep it in place while you are sewing the curved part. Last but not the least, the user side. Just like the back side, we use 2 layers of green tela and stitch them up together, but only in the straight parts, like the side and the bottom, not the top yet. The reason we didn't close the curve yet is because we will be inserting the strap of the bag. In making it, we'll be using foam and covering it up with green tela. The foam should be equal of length and the green tela should be slightly longer than the foam. This is to give enough space for the stitches we'll be making with the user side of the bag, as well as for the adjustable strap at the bottom. As you can see, we only closed down one end of the strap because later on we'll be hiding the adjustable bottom of the strap. For now, we'll just be stitching the strap of the bag to the user side of the bag. Now that we got that over with, we can now close down the curve up top. As for the readjustable part of the strap, we'll be using garter and some green tela and black tela later on. This green tela will be sewn onto the end of 2 garters. This green tela will then be sewn onto the strap within the open part of the strap. The stitch on that part doesn't look quite good enough, so we will be adding black tela to cover it up. But first we must glaze it a little bit just to get rid of those hanging on the sides. After doing it with one strap, we can now do it on the other strap. Both in the left and right are now balanced as all things should be. But still, we need the other end of the garter to be strapped onto something. Hence, I have to make a ring of tela such that we would sew it onto the side for the garter to hold onto. This is done in both sides as well, as obviously we have 2 straps. Once done with the straps, we can now stitch the user side of the backpack to the rest of its components, just as we did with the back side of the backpack. And voila! We are all done with the DIY backpack, and let's take a look at it. With that, we are all done with our DIY bag project. This backpack, the output of this project, will be given to the adopted community of the Mapua University, and you can also try out this project with your family or do it yourself, as it's a DIY bag. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.